any time that the task of creating content adds like a chore to your day, you're already setting yourself up for failure, in my opinion. Especially with Instagram. You know, you get to 2,000 views and you get to 50 likes and you're like, yeah, but then it stops because it didn't resonate with anybody outside of who already knew you. And so it gives you this false equivalency of success. It's probably one of the harshest things that I say to people is that if it doesn't resonate with an audience outside of the people who know you, then you haven't yet created quality content. Broad scope appeal. And it's the way the algorithm pushes content out to people. Like if you are able to create a piece of content that is widely consumable past the original niche that you were creating it for, the analogy that I came up with is like you're hosting a party and your original niche is your core guest list and you're inviting all these people along and you're putting on the party so that they can enjoy themselves. But then outside your core niche and that original guest list, you want to invite the rest of the neighborhood. Okay. Now they don't understand your niche at all, but if you make the party entertaining and interesting enough that they can come and have a good time too, well, your core niche still feels like, yay, like I got my party, but then the other people who join in like, oh, this is a pumping good time. I'm really glad I joined. Like, I'm really glad I came along.
Everybody, welcome to the Creator Dashboard. I hope you're having a great day. I certainly am. I'm here joined by Byron Rose Kelly.
That's me.
Who is a Instagram content creator. We've had a few people on the podcast and a few creators talk about how Instagram can be quite challenging. So when I met Byron a few weeks ago, I was like, this guy, got to get him on the podcast. How are you doing today, Byron?
I'm doing really well. I forget which day it is a lot of the time because like I live in a world where it's constantly the same thing and it doesn't matter if it's Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, but today's been a really productive day. So I'm excited to be here and I thank you for having me.
Fantastic. So Byron, give us a little bit of a rundown as to what you do on the internet.
On the internet. Okay. So primarily, as you mentioned, I'm an Instagram creator. I'm not a big fan of using the term influencer because I don't know if that term got a bit of a bad rap at some point, but essentially I create content on a consistent basis and appeal to an audience that I've like grown over time. And essentially I've moved that into the point where my day-to-day job now is actually educating and providing insight on how people can do that with their platform on Instagram as well. So yeah, almost like a PT like on Instagram. So like you think about a coach, that's what I do.
Cool. And so obviously you're the perfect person to have on the podcast because you teach other people how to grow on Instagram. So you heard it here first, guys. This is the key source of information for growing on Instagram.
Let's see what happens.
All right. So tell us a little bit about your journey into content creation. Where did it start out for you?
So it actually started. So I was working in real estate. And I was a professional bodybuilder for a long time. So essentially my life revolved around waking up at 4 or 5 a.m., going to the gym, getting ready, going to work, working all day, coming home, going gym, and then going to bed, starting again. So at some point in that, I was like, dude, you really need a hobby. And we're going to see if we can, because my first coach actually said, in order to be successful in bodybuilding, you need to have some sort of presence so that a judge knows who you are before you rock up on stage. I didn't really think too much of it. I was like, oh yeah, sure, dude, whatever. Like social media is not really my thing. But after spending sort of 4 to 5 years in the industry, I was like, you know what? Maybe we'll give this a shot now. So competing every day, working every day and then training every day and then wanting to compete again. I was like, how about we just try posting a reel? You're going to the gym anyway. See if you can create a piece of content while you're there and then put it online, see what happens. And essentially I did that for every day for over a year. And it was just simple stuff. And boy, like you can go back in my feed and you can have a look at the cringe content that I used to create and test and trial stuff on because some of it's pretty bad. But it was just a matter of creating something every day and then trying to learn and improve because I guess I caught the bug when it came to how can I make this better and how can I get in front of more people. So
that's good. It's interesting.
Yeah.
So that kind of resonates a lot with something that I've heard a few times on the podcast. So Ty talked about it just like getting the reps out.
Oh yeah.
Posting as frequently as possible and as much as possible. And so you did that by just doing it every single day. But how do you? So a lot of people like just starting out. How that there are some barriers there. So what's someone?
Sure.
What is a way someone can work past that?
Well, I mean, the way to work past that is you look at what you're doing in your day to day life anyway, right? So, I mean, like for me, it was I go to the gym and I go to work. So, if I was going to suggest to myself what I would make content around, it would be, well, you can either do it in your job, right? Or you can do it in your gym, which is a passion and a hobby. Or if I had something else that's like if I was playing video games or if I was, I don't know, interested in crocheting or something like that, then I would say, you're already doing it. You may as well see if you can capture some content from that in order to post it. So anytime that the task of creating content adds like a chore to your day, you're already setting yourself up for failure, in my opinion. Yeah. So it's like, especially with Instagram, right? Because again, like if you have to spend 2 hours to set up something for one reel, right? And then you post it out, let's say it's 20 seconds long, and then that reel bombs, right? Because it's not likely that the first one pops off and hits 1 million views or anything. You're going to go, well, that was 2 hours of my time I've just wasted. What's the point of doing this? I'm just going to give up. It's
so
like,
you've already felt like in your mind, you're like, oh, I've wasted 2 hours.
Yeah.
For zero results.
Yep.
So obviously it's going to be a lot harder on your mental state.
Exactly. And although so in real estate, I wouldn't say it's unless you really, really love real estate, I wouldn't say it's the most amazing occupation to find yourself in all the time. But one of the things it taught me is I used to do a lot of door knocking, right? A lot of cold calling. And what I found out is like that constant rejection over time, right? People say, nah, Byron, I'm not interested. No, I'm not selling my house. No, Byron, get off my lawn. Right? It was like, because that did happen. I mean, I got some real dirty looks when I knocked on doors at 7:30. Yeah. But so that constant rejection and that constant no, I knew in the back of my mind that every single no I got moved me one step closer to getting a yes. And if I got a yes, it meant we could sell a house essentially, and you earn money when you sell. So with a reel, it was like, okay, I need to create enough reels, and we'll talk about quality and stuff later, but I needed to create enough reels that I was visible in the market. And then that way I was able to find my audience, right? And if the idea of creating something on a consistent basis was too much, then I wasn't going to get the reps in to be able to make it happen. Right? And it took, as I said, it was just over a year. So I think I had about 370 posts on my account before I actually hit a reel that got traction, right? And like from that traction point, the brain starts ticking and it goes, okay, there's something in this. Maybe I can work with it and then test and iterate on top of that. And that's how I grew my channel from like nobody to where it is now. I called it a channel, but page followership, account.
I mean, from a marketing point of view, technically it's a channel. It's an advertising channel, but I guess your page.
Yeah.
What do they call it? Instagram page?
I think it's an account, right? Your Instagram account? I don't know. Yeah.
That's very interesting. So you're saying it took 370 days before we started getting traction.
Yes.
Now that could scare people off if you're saying that. So I guess that's part of what you do in your coaching as well. But
because I made a lot of mistakes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess, so what are the things people could do to help kind of like, obviously I think the reps are important, but reduce the amount of reps. Yep.
Yeah. So it's about understanding, like when I was creating this content during that time, I didn't really have a purpose or intention. It was like, oh, we'll just put it out there. And I saw this funny trend and, I think this is good. We'll just see what happens. Yep. But what I failed to understand is that Instagram itself is a business that is dependent upon viewers watching people's stuff. Yep. So me as a content creator, if I don't put out content that is captivating and engaging with my audience and delivering some sort of value, it's never going to go anywhere, right? Because and it comes down to, and this is one of the things that I think I hear a lot, like the algorithms hate me. Like the algorithm doesn't know who you are. It doesn't care what you do. What it cares about is your content actually consumable, right? So it has its things that it monitors in the background, and understanding what those look like is a very big eye opener. But when you know what it is that you have to create for, you can then do it intentionally. Yep. And when you do it intentionally, you get better results that you can test and learn on. Right. So that it's starting with a bit of education. at the beginning to know, at least position yourself in a way that you can create content that has a chance of success.
Yep.
You can luck it out, and I hope when people do, they do have some luck, because it's very fulfilling to be like, oh my gosh, my views, like, wow, I'm doing really good. But
well, I think the important thing is when that happens is to go, okay, why did that get the views?
Oh yeah.
So I think a lot of people probably would go, oh yeah, that's great, and then not.
They just move on.
Yeah, they move on, and I've done that. I've done that with my own content. I've gone like had a video pop off, and then I continue to do something completely different later.
Yeah, but you see, and that's one of the mistakes I made in that first year. Is like I had content that did better than my other content, right? So in terms of a scale, perhaps let's say like my average views would have been 1,000 on a video. I got my first video that hit 10K, and I was like, wow, like this is easy now. I get it. And then the next video after that went back to 1,000.
Yep.
But I didn't learn anything from the video that hit 10K. I was like, at that point, like if I had myself there, I'd be like, Byron, why do you think that did better? Like, what was it about that video that you did differently from your other content? You know, because you could just say it was just luck, or the algorithm liked me on that sort of day, but it's not really a variable. Like luck is not something I'd ever rely on.
Yeah.
So yes, those moments where something actually does happen because you're moving through it in a bit of a methodical manner, you can then apply that to your future content creation process, and then you start to work it out. Yeah.
So I think that's the important thing about like trend following is what the trap trend following can cause is that if you're constantly following trends, you're not actually creating anything new. You're creating rehashed versions of the current trends, which is probably fine to interweave with your normal content.
Definitely is, yeah.
But you need normal content.
Yeah.
So if you're just constantly chasing trends, I think you're not going to really, nobody's going to know you for one particular thing.
Correct.
I think that's the important thing.
Yeah, and like on that note, Instagram actually do encourage some level of trend element in your content. Like you can go follow the creators on Instagram, and there's the Instagram creator community, which is run by like Meta employees, and then you can go follow Adam Morosi, and these guys, like, they give us information because they actually want us to create better content. And one of the things they do every week is, hey guys, here's a trend report. Here's some stuff that maybe is more in the mind's eye of the viewers at the moment and will feel familiar, and you can create around it. But if you, like, one of the ones that like is really tricky, because it's a great starting place, is you see a video and it's done really well, and you've seen maybe it 3 or 4 times now, and they're all doing really well. So you're like, oh, how hard can it be? I'll just recreate this in my own fashion, and then it's just I'm destined for stardom. And unfortunately, it doesn't quite work out because there's elements in there that people haven't quite come to understand yet, and they don't know why it's actually done well in the first place to incorporate those things. So
they're just copying something more or less, but they don't have the foundational elements.
100%.
How to recreate that on a consistent basis, or recreate any form of like quality. Yeah, it's interesting. So what is something that a creator can do to like make their videos worth more to an audience? Like, I know on YouTube there are certain things, but I'm wondering if Instagram is any different or if it's much the same.
Yeah, it's I mean the what do you call it? The generic answer is you make it valuable to your audience, right? And you've got 4 different content styles that can be of value. So you can entertain people, and ultimately Instagram's an entertainment app, and anything can be entertaining. So it's like, okay, entertainment, great. We've got education, because it's great to learn new things, but the thing about teaching somebody something new is that the likelihood that it's new for a lot of people is probably pretty low, unless it's astounding. So it's really tricky. You've got inspirational content. So, when you see that reel, it's like, oh my gosh, like I need to go to the gym right now because I'm feeling inspired by what this person is doing and I want to improve my life. And then you have emotional content where it's like, oh wow, I'm sad. This is making me feel things. Or, this is joyous and I'm really glad that I consume this. So the value delivery piece is important.
Sorry.
No, you're right.
I've been experiencing that a lot with the TV show Ted Lasso.
Okay.
I don't know if you've watched it. It's like, it's a joyous TV show anyway. Sorry.
No, it's good. Well, there's a lesson in that, right? Like why do you continue to watch Ted Lasso?
Oh, because it makes me feel happy, because it's fun and it's lighthearted.
Yeah. And so there's a need that it's fulfilling for you as a viewer that you keep coming back for. Right? And I think that when we come to understand, like the simplest test is go through and look at what you consume. And Instagram is very good at providing you content that you are likely to want, right? Because the big truth behind it all is that these companies have access to so much data, right? And they can understand human behavior on a numbers level, where it's like, this person behaves like this. He's very similar to all these other people, and we've tested this particular piece of content with these people, so it's likely to do well with him.
Yep.
So if you go through and have a look at the things that you consume, and then you look at it through the lens of, why am I consuming this? What does it provide to me as the person sitting on the other end of the phone? And you can start to recreate that with your own content. You're going to have much better success, right? Like at the very minimum, you have an intention behind what you're trying to deliver to your audience. And that it's massive. It's a game changer when you start doing that. So
yeah, that's interesting. So I guess like it's a funny way to kind of put it. So not put it, I think it makes a lot of sense, but when we're talking about like putting all the reps out and like trying to learn your content and get like figure out your audience and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I guess it can feel like a long process when you do it that way, or it is a long process when you do it that way, because you're actually trying to find your audience based on all of the interests that you have, and you're just trying to find that thing that resonates.
Yeah.
So from like a marketing point of view, and as marketers, one of the first steps that you do is define your audience based on what you're trying to provide.
Yes.
And so I think an important thing to help try and speed things up a bit is try and identify what your product is or what you're trying to accomplish for someone.
Yeah.
And then you already know, then it's really easy to work out who your target audience actually is. And then you can really tailor it. I think gaming channels have it a little bit easier in some spaces because, I play Minecraft. Well, that's my audience.
Minecraft is its own fandom, right?
Yeah, but then because Minecraft's so big, like you've got all these micro niches within Minecraft and stuff like that you can target, which makes it a bit different.
Yeah.
So I think from a creator's point of view, if you're just starting out, and it is the same on YouTube and any other platform because people consume content the exact same way. Identify who you're actually specifically trying to make the content for, and then half that those reps are already done.
Well,
I guess
I was going to say that it's funny you mentioned that, because one of the things that the penny dropped for me on when I did have that the piece of content that actually did really well is like, I know who's actually wanting to watch my stuff and why. And I was like, okay, well, I'll just keep creating towards that. And as a result, they kept doing well and more people kept seeing it. And with that consistency of being able to post regularly around that same thing and having those reps so that I could put together a reel in 10 minutes instead of it taking me an hour and a half, I was able to continuously provide the content that people wanted, and more people stuck around to watch. And now they're like, now they don't go anywhere else, which is great.
I guess like in a manner of speaking, we talk about reps. And obviously, you're a bodybuilder. So it is more or less much the same as going to the gym.
Yeah.
You're putting the reps in to build the muscle in that area. So like you're creating content, you're creating consistent content, you're putting the reps in to get better at making that content. But then like you got to decide, like when you go to the gym, you don't go, well, early on, you probably go and like, I don't really know
do whatever
I'm doing. You just throw yourself at whatever, and you kind of, and then eventually you go, I really like when my biceps feel like this, or like, dumbbell curls, they feel good. They're actually targeting a specific muscle, so you keep doing the same rep to target that specific muscle, and eventually the muscle gets bigger.
And you have giant biceps.
And so essentially content creation and muscles are very much the same thing. Like your audience is like your muscles. The more you keep working on that particular muscle, the bigger it will get.
Yeah. You've got to provide them the right stimulus for them to grow. Like, and that's a literal muscle analogy and Instagram analogy. If you don't stimulate your audience, then your audience will not grow over time. So it's like understanding, like you said, exactly who you want to cater to. And that also comes to a bit of, like, the first thing I ask everyone I start with is, what kind of content do you want to create? Like, what do you want to be known for? What do you enjoy? And they're like, And then oftentimes after the first week, they come back to me and they say, I've changed what my original answer was because I realized X, Y, Z. And I'm like, fantastic. Like now we're in a place where we can actually do something that is going to service you as a creator, because there's nothing worse than creating content you just do not like,
Yeah.
right? And it translates to your audience. But if it's easy and manageable and you enjoy doing it and you can understand why you're putting it out and who it's for, then when you deliver that value and that message to your audience, it is a much more seamless. It's not perfect ever at all, but it's so much simpler to go through. And as a result, you're more likely to keep doing it. So, and that's half the battle.
The reps are the key, are the continuous thing. So talking about reps, consistency and frequency. So obviously you did something every single day.
Yes.
For some people, it might be a little bit more difficult than that, just depending on lifestyles and types of content and what they do and stuff like that. So what is a good schedule, or how frequent should someone be posting on Instagram?
If you really want to grow, I mean, it depends. Actually, I should say it depends on how fast you want to grow. It will really come down to how often you post. You can do it with one post a week, right? The likelihood that you'll pick up lots of traction quickly is very, very, very low. And I also want to quickly add in there, it doesn't have to be reels. It can be carousels that are a really popular thing, and Instagram's pushing them pretty hard. So carousels are also another form of content that you can easily create if you know what you're doing. But if you want to grow at a substantial rate, then you need to post more frequently, and you need to be, so there's this wonderful function called trial reels. You need to be testing stuff regularly. And it's
trial reels.
Oh yeah, trial reels.
What is a trial reel?
Okay.
That's new to me.
Yeah. So when you post a reel, you now have the option before sharing it to your main page and your current followers to flick a little trial reel slider, and Instagram will show it to non-followers only. So people who do not know your content, do not know you, and essentially it is a safe space for you to test, because if it bombs and 50 people see it, well, then you haven't embarrassed yourself, right? And it should never be embarrassing, but it's one of those things where, and especially at the start, you're like, are people going to judge me for this? And it's like, well, now you can do it in a safe space. But
so that's an interesting concept, though. Like, so you say you can do it in a safe space, but you're sending it to people who don't know you.
Yeah. Yep.
So
I see it as safe, right?
How's it a safe space?
Well, I guess maybe I have a different perception on safe, right? Because actually, it's just a fair point. Like with my current audience, content that I create that's outside the norm would be something that perhaps doesn't perform as well. So for me, that lack of, the shift in engagement from them, I'm like, oh, well, that doesn't feel too good. Like they don't like me, right?
They didn't like that piece of content.
Yeah. So I guess, yes, for me, the safe space is like I can send it to people who have no idea. And if the content's actually good at this point, then it'll resonate with the new audience. But the other way I think about it in terms of safe is if the content is no good, I just delete it and those people forget about it, because they probably consumed 250 other reels that day, right?
Yeah, you're just a new creator to them. Yeah,
I'm just one of a sea of many at that point. So it's like, but yeah, the trial reels, because it goes to non-followers, there's no inherent bias towards your content, right? Because when you have like your friends, your family, perhaps an extended community that you're part of, and they see your content like, wow, this is awesome. Like, great job.
Feels so good. That's
here's some emojis.
Content.
Yeah. And you're like, yeah. And you get to 2,000 views and you get to 50 likes and you're like, yeah. But then it stops because it didn't resonate with anybody outside of who already knew you. And so it gives you this false equivalency of success, I think.
Yep.
Because it's technically, and it's probably one of the harshest things that I say to people is that if it doesn't resonate with an audience outside of the people who know you, then you haven't yet created quality content.
Yeah.
Right? Because you haven't quite got to that point where you can interact with a person on the other end of the screen who does not know you. Because even now, no one cares who Byron Rose Kelly is. They just like the things that I put out on the internet for them to consume. Yeah. So it's like, it's removing that ego.
That's an interesting. It's a very tough pill to swallow. That actually.
Oh yeah.
Because especially in the content creator space, where content creators are in each other's pockets a lot, and we're our best cheer squad.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Support your fellow creators.
Support your fellow creators, but also don't especially on main channels, because it kind of, well, and I shouldn't say that. Like, I feel like it's a tough thing to say, but
It is.
we're hyping each other up. But is that actually the audience that you're targeting?
Yeah.
As you say, like if I've got 100 creator friends and they like my Instagram post or reel,
Yeah.
I've got 100 creator friends who've liked it, but I haven't actually reached an audience beyond the people I was trying to target.
Yeah.
That's fine for the creator dashboard because that's who it's for. But like my main content, like I want people who haven't seen that content to like it.
Yes.
And I guess Instagram only wants to give away so much organic reach before it kind of throttles it.
Yeah, that's
So,
right. Yeah, and then they want you to put the dollars in.
Yeah.
Yep.
Boost?
No, I mean, I get offered a boost on every single post. I'm like, no, guys, I'm happy with what I'm doing. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, there's always that theory that once you start boosting, it's like Instagram knows that you're a booster. And
well,
so like just
yeah.
give you it
So,
will keep like throttling your content until you
no,
boost again.
see, this is where I think it creates the wrong narrative in people's heads. So if you boost a piece of content, it is pushing you because you're paying for it, right? So even if your content is subpar, it's still going to push you to people, right? Yeah. Let's say the metric is you need to have a view rate past 3 seconds at 80% for it to pop off, right? It's a very high view rate, by the way. But if your content that you're boosting is at 50%, you're still going to get the same level, potentially. And this is just me airballing numbers here, by the way. You're still going to get the same level of reach because Instagram is pushing you through that channel.
Yeah, because you're paying for that privilege.
Yeah, you get this idea that, oh, my content was good, like, and then when you take the boost away because you haven't actually been creating quality content, it's like, oh, that just hates me now.
Yeah,
it's like, no.
Oh, okay, that's a good way to put it because it doesn't hate me. It's just
it doesn't care. It doesn't care about you.
To kind of put some reality to those numbers, actually. So what I do, like obviously I work in marketing full time, and I do boosted content, but the boosted content generally is like paid. Is going to be paid ads specifically because I'm trying to push or sell something to someone.
Yeah, and that's when it's perfect.
People don't want to be sold to, so you have to pay to sell to them. They're not going to like the best organic content is the stuff that doesn't need to be boosted, and that's the ultimate marketer's dream is to have content that you don't have to boost and it gets seen by hundreds of millions of people. Yeah. The true magic is combining the both, because if you boost content and it's not good, it still gets shit engagement.
Yep.
It'll be seen by more people, but it still gets shit engagement. But I did a reel that I boosted for a promotion and it popped off on both paid and like organic. It ended up getting more organic views than the paid views because it was a really good piece of content.
That's awesome.
So it can still outperform.
Yeah.
You've just got to put the effort into the actual content itself.
Yeah. Can I ask you then, because this is one of the things I like to talk about. Is there any way for you to reuse that in your marketing space? Yeah. So because time and time again, I see people, they have particularly if it's like an evergreen reel, right? If the content does well, it tends to do well on repeat. And you'll see it when people go, this was my most viral reel from 2024 and I'm posting it in December. And like the first one might have got 30 million views. And then this one goes off at 15 million views. And they've changed nothing. And it's
it probably could. I can't because it was specific to a promotion. So I couldn't actually test it. Damn. But I dare say it may. So I know that sometimes like the algorithms don't like it when you post the same stuff over and over again.
Oh, I don't know.
But I know YouTube doesn't like it. So if you post
YouTube doesn't.
The same YouTube video over and over again, YouTube goes, hey, whoa, stop that. We'll remove them. But I know I know TikTok can throttle. TikTok is rough on that. If you post something, delete it and try to repost it because you got something wrong, it'll actually throttle the
just
views.
Tanks it. Yeah.
I don't know if Instagram's like that.
No, it's not. I feel like Instagram is perhaps a little bit, and maybe they will tweak this, right? Because it's for a while with trial reels, one of the things that people immediately jumped on is they'd take a piece of content and they would trial it. And I don't know what the actual number you could get to at that point was, but I felt like it was probably 40 trials. Right? I remember scrolling through my feed one day and I was like, I've seen this guy's content 6 times. Why am I seeing this? But you went to his page and it was the one reel. And it's because he had that one pop-off reel in his trials just going and going and going and going and going and going. And so as a result, they were all doing fantastically well. And I was like, this is madness.
Was
like
he
he hasn't done anything.
And reposting it, or
Nope. No, they were all running at the exact same time.
wow. Okay,
Yeah.
that's interesting. It's I have heard strategies back long time ago now that you could like people would post on Facebook and Instagram, and if it didn't go well, delete it, change the hashtags, post it up again.
Yep.
Like that was a strategy that was getting recommended, but I think they've
Yeah.
nipped that in the bud.
Well, now the strategy is, so when you've got a piece of content in mind, and like let's say you've done the storyboarding and you know what I want it to look like, you can now. So I copy my drafts. So if I've got a reel there ready to go, I'll duplicate my draft and I'll have 5 different. It's like A/B testing something. I'll try a slightly different caption. I'll try a slightly different song. I'll try a slightly different cut, and I just tweak these little things so that. Because it's sometimes it's one minute detail that is the difference between it doing really well and it not doing well. And the best example I had is one of the girls that I coach. She goes, "Oh, you check this out." And I was like, "Oh yeah, show me." It was a trial reel, and it went viral. I was like, "That's crazy. Why haven't you posted it?" She's like, "Nah, it's too cringe, and I don't want to." And I was like, "You're okay. You do you." But she went, "Yeah, this is the one that did best." And I was like, "What do you mean this was the one that did best?" And she went, "Well, I had 4 others." And this one I had the sticker in front of my face, right? But in the other one I had the sticker down the bottom. In another one I had no sticker. And then in the last one it was slightly longer. And she posted them all at the same time. And lo and behold, the one with the sticker in front of her face was the one that popped off. I was like, how insane is it that the song, the movement, like if she was doing a dance, like the song, her dance moves, the caption, everything else was the same except for the sticker placement. And that's the one that went over 1 million. I was like, okay, well, I guess it's the tiniest little triggers that can alter how well a piece of content can do.
Oh, for sure. Like on YouTube, the title and the thumbnail, like 2 biggest things. Like the thumbnail is obviously the number one piece, but like how you play out the thumbnail, they say that having an arrow on the thumbnail increases its click-through rate by like 25%.
I'm going to have to try it for myself.
Which is absolutely insane. I don't know if that's the exact number. I think I heard it said, I think Aaron Aztec said it somewhere. But like, it's just, that's like small little things like that. Having a face on a thumbnail makes a big difference. But then like the title, putting some word capitalized in there can increase the click-through rate. So all of these things have a big impact. And that's probably the biggest thing I see creators do is they don't title their videos properly. Sometimes I put a bit of effort into thumbnails, which is great, but then the title will be like game name part 1 or like game name this is fun part 2, and it's like
cool, dude.
Like, okay, let's
nice,
make it exciting. Why is somebody going to watch this?
Well, and that is the key question I think across any platform that you're creating on, and particularly on Instagram. I feel that if you can't articulate why someone should stop and watch your reel, you're kind of like, oh well, good luck. I'll just throw it to the wind. And just on the point of the title stuff, the one that gets missed a lot with reels or carousels is people's captions. Like the actual caption is just that there's really no like formula to a lot of people's stuff. It's kind of like, oh, maybe I'll put a 1-word title, or maybe I'll overload it with 15 hashtags because I think hashtags are great. Or
are they still great?
Like I've had reels that have done well with hashtags and no hashtags. Instagram still say between 5 to 8 with a broad range of exposure is the way to go.
Okay.
And I like at the end of the day, I trust Instagram to tell us because they've got the data to support whether or not it actually does anything. But the thing that is probably the key is putting like almost thinking of like SEO in terms of your caption. Like, is it keyword rich, right? Have you got what your content is actually about in your caption?
Yeah, I guess. And then because it's a lot of people searching stuff on Instagram and TikTok these days too, right? Yep.
So it's like it's one of those things where, and again, it gives your audience an opportunity to actually engage with your content, right? Beyond just watching, right? It is a chance for them to either learn more. A lot of people might not read captions, but you need to give yourself those chances for it to happen. And that's why things like polls and questions are really good.
I guess that's a good point. Because so if you were to post something on Instagram, if you were create a brand new baby channel, like straight out, like not an actual channel about babies, but like, brand new channel.
Yeah, baby channel.
And it's like got nothing. And you
Yeah.
post a video on there, the algorithm has no idea.
Zero
But
clue.
if you put some stuff in the caption, the algorithm goes, okay, Baldur's Gate. That's what this video is about. And then
Yep.
it helps. So I guess
It does.
it's something I haven't actually thought about that. So hashtags is obviously one thing. Hashtags is like a broad level of what a like keyword was. But now
Yep.
the algorithms are so smart, they just use what's in the
Yeah.
copy.
Yep.
So yeah, I guess it's something I've been overlooking. That's for sure.
Yeah. And like ultimately, as I said, it's about, we stack 1%ers, right? So these things we can add parts to our formula that allow us the best opportunity for our content to actually hit the audience that we're searching for, right? And if we like, sure, you can have success without it. Like maybe you don't ever do a caption. The argument that I get a lot is like, oh, Baby No Money doesn't have captions. And I was like, yeah, because Baby No Money is his own brand and you watch because of him, right? But you're not Baby No Money and no one's watching you for you yet, right? So
he had to put the legwork to get
he
to
did.
where he is at too.
Yep.
Like he's been at it for a long time now doing stuff, and he's just only in the last couple of years really cracked it. And even still, he popped off a couple of years ago with a couple of good songs, and then he dipped, and now he's back again. So like, you can't compare yourself to a big creator like that because they have put the reps in.
Oh, a lot more reps than any of us can imagine.
But also, Baby No Money does, like, that's not his primary thing too.
No.
Like Instagram and TikTok and stuff, that's his advertising platform.
Yep.
He creates music.
Correct.
So that's his product.
Yeah. And see, now you're getting into some of the fun stuff when I start asking people about what your platform on Instagram is supposed to be about. It's like, ultimately, what are you delivering to people? If you want to be an influencer, that's fine. But then, like, what value are you adding to a community? And ultimately, because if you want to make money from it, you've got to be able to monetize, which means, especially in Australia, we don't paid for views, which sucks. There's no creative fund. But, you've got to talk to brands. You need sponsorships. You're going to have to work with companies to actually get some money rolling in off Instagram alone. Or perhaps you are the kind of person who has a podcast, or you have a clothing line, or you have something that you want to be able to show the world, right? It's all about positioning for that in the future. And that's where you start with, okay, what are you about? What are your values? What are the sort of thing? And we call it branding, right?
Yep.
You create a brand so that the people who then join you on your journey will then also trust what you are offering them later on.
Yep.
Right. But yeah. It's not just it's not just a case of like one day you turn up and you're like, all right, I'm going to post a reel every day for 365 days and I'll be just like Byron. It's like, no, maybe, but
maybe,
yeah, you could.
But Byron does bodybuilding.
Yes,
and
Byron has something completely different to offer, perhaps, than what you do.
Yeah,
right?
That's right.
Yeah.
What were we talking about before we went down this hashtag road?
Oh, gosh.
It was about the quality of content.
Quality content.
The feature, the fun.
What value delivering, right?
That's right, value delivering.
Yeah. Yeah. So, like obviously pillars. I actually on value, I always say that and I got this from a good friend of mine. Actually, she said the three things that I feel that always do well on Instagram is anything shocking. So it's like, whoa, right? Anything humorous that actually makes you have a chuckle, and then anything that has a slight element of sexiness to it. Right. And if you can somehow combine all three, it's kind of like, oh, that's a piece of content that I enjoy. Yeah. And you can have any of those elements, and you could find any of those elements in just about anything that does well. It's so being able to deliver to people that on a consistent basis is tough. But again, it's about understanding what you're trying to deliver and how that's going to be received by the person on the phone.
Yeah. Well, I guess I can almost picture like one of those graphs with the three circles like crossing in the middle. You got like the perfect...
the Venn diagram.
Yeah.
yeah. It's in the middle there. It's like the Holy Trinity. Yeah.
So, how do you find Instagram? Well, I mean, do you still think like photos was obviously where Instagram started?
Correct.
Do you still see photos kind of being a thing on Instagram?
I see photos as being, because like I work with a lot of good cosplayers, and I see like singular photos as a fantastic portfolio piece. Right, it's a great way when people come on your page, because it starts with the post part, and it's like, all right, cool, I can see that this cosplayer does things in this ilk, and it's incredible.
Yep.
Right, but where it's like when you see a photo, it's a momentary piece, and there's not really much more value you can get from it other than viewing it. You might be like, wow, that's great, and then all right, off I go.
Move on.
Yeah. Whereas now, like carousels, so a carousel is just a series of photo posts. You can chuck video in there as well, but the whole idea is you can actually take people on a bit of a swipe journey and be like, oh, now I can deliver some value, whether it's through storytelling or
it's like a engagement piece in a sense. It's more engaging than just a photo.
Yep, because they literally have to swipe. It's an action. Like you are physically doing something with that piece of content. Not only are you getting the visual element and perhaps the audio element and the textual element from it, you have to physically swipe, right? So it's kind of the person on the phone is now investing more time into consuming your content, and that's I need to probably mathematically put this in terms somehow, but if the time invested by the person consuming your content is not matched by the value that you deliver, then it's not a good piece of content. Like the value has to outweigh the investment of time, because time is a valuable resource, right? So
there's a couple of good points that like just from that that statement. So obviously from Instagram's point of view, Instagram wants to keep their viewers on their platform, right? So your job as an Instagram creator is to get people to keep using their platform. Yes. And so you got to keep providing good content. So if Instagram didn't provide good content, people wouldn't be on the platform. So that's kind of where it's all at, right?
Correct.
So that's the way you got to think as a creator. So how can you help the person so you can help Instagram so you can help yourself?
Exactly.
It's a weird way to put it, but
but it's spot on. Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, the other thing that from that as well is that I have noticed the carousels actually appearing on LinkedIn as well. Like LinkedIn's doing the carousel reel things, and the third thing from that. So you know how it's like I know you listen to or like you've watched Alex Hormozy.
Oh yeah.
So I've been reading one of his books recently, and so he talks about how people's attention spans haven't gotten shorter. Where so a lot of people are like, oh, attention spans are shorter, and probably they are to an extent, but it's not because the attention spans, like our biology's changed. The quality of content has gotten so good. Our standards are so refined.
That is so true.
If it's not like, the best content, if it's not garbage, if it's not, what do you call it? Like if it's not engaging me at every single second, then I'm losing interest. And it's not because of the biology. It's because our standards of what engages our brain is so high.
Yeah.
Because like people sit down, and this is he says this. People sit down and watch a whole series on Netflix. They'll binge a whole show because it's good.
Yes.
They'll turn the show off if it's not good.
Correct.
Instagram, TikTok, all that kind of stuff, the exact same stuff. If it's not good, they'll swipe away.
Exactly.
It's just they're just so used to the action. The action's so easy, they'll just do it a lot quicker.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's funny because like we talked about how to improve it, and I talked about value delivery, but the thing I kind of glossed over at that point, and Instagram have made a very big point of putting it in our insight section, is the view rate past 3 seconds, right? And the reason they're so heavily invested on making that clearly visible to us is because they know, like the magic rule of thumb is you get 3 seconds to kind of keep someone's attention, or if they scroll past it, it doesn't matter how good the rest of the piece of content is, they're gone.
Yep.
Right? So being able to engage people in that first few moments is exactly what you talked about with Alex, where it's like, all right, what kind of stimulation am I getting, and how quickly am I getting this stimulation? Because if I'm not getting it, I've already left. Yep. Like I've switched off and I've moved on, because I'm looking for something that can actually fulfill the need that I have. And it's not because our attention span is less than, a goldfish's now. That's not why we didn't get past 3 seconds. It's because we weren't stimulated quick enough.
In those 3 seconds.
Yeah.
No, it was kind of like brain altering when I heard that. I was like, oh shit, that's a really good way to put it.
He's pretty smart. I mean, it kind of makes sense why he's everywhere, and he's very successful at what he does, and he's probably one of the leading people on sales now. So yeah, he gets it
for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it makes a lot of sense. It's like, and as you said about like, you know, people, I scroll away before I even register that I was actually interested in that content, because it's so easy to do that.
Yeah. Yeah. And that, again, I talked about going through and looking at the content that you consume as like a bit of an understanding piece for yourself. But there's a lot of value. Like, you can get trapped doom scrolling, or you can look at content intentionally. Right. Yeah. And when you start to actually look at what it is that you consume and why you've stopped to actually consume it, you can be like, oh, like that makes some sense. Okay. How do I reverse engineer that for myself? Right. And how do I put Byron spin on it? You know, how does it fit my content? Okay. Maybe this doesn't. Is there another way that I can capture your attention that quickly? And you just go through that process.
It is difficult because it's designed to make you do that. I actually, so when I want to do research, I don't have TikTok on my phone because I will doom scroll.
Yep.
Like, I had to train myself to not use TikTok by replacing it with chess.
Oh, okay.
So I deleted the TikTok app, downloaded the chess.com app, and put it in the same place. And I'm like, I want to learn how to play chess. And so, like, every time I opened my phone, I had chess open. I was like,
chess it is.
I'm playing chess. And so now I'm not doom scrolling on TikTok. And this is the thing about how powerful TikTok is that I've got Instagram and I've got YouTube Shorts. Although I have had to delete YouTube from my pages. I have to search it if I want to get into it, because it was starting to get more efficient.
Yep.
I don't get the same thing with Instagram. I don't get the doom scrolling yet.
Yep. Well,
all that stuff, when I want to research, I do it on my computer.
Yeah.
That way, it's like I'm sitting here and I'm making a point of it.
And there's also a work association with it, right? You come to your computer desk to do work, right? So it's no longer just for fun and, you know, because I feel like escaping the world at this point. I'm here to actually intentionally look at something. But it's interesting, like with TikTok, I think the average time spent is something like 58 minutes for TikTok, and it's 32 minutes for Instagram. Right. So there's a much lower propensity towards spending longer amounts of time on TikTok. And it's, I think, partially to do with differences in demographic. Like, I would say TikTok has a much more avid, younger following and consumer base than what Instagram does. But if I'm wanting to actually connect with an audience, I feel like there's a much better opportunity to do it on Instagram than I would have on TikTok.
Yeah.
So,
right.
Yeah.
Well, I guess that kind of leads me to a question that I did want to ask you.
Yes.
How do you feel Instagram, TikTok, YouTube Shorts? How do you feel that dynamic, how they work together at the moment? Because a lot of people, I know, they'll do well on TikTok and they struggle on Instagram.
Oh, yeah.
There's like a weird dichotomy going on there.
Yep. Again, I think it's a slightly different way of thinking about who you're targeting, right? So, again, I did a little experiment on TikTok. I spent like a month just creating content on there. And my content style on TikTok very quickly shifted away from what I did on Insta. Right? But I still, because I shifted it and I did slightly different stuff, I still managed to grow like 3,500 followers in that time. And I was like, I actually don't like creating content here. I'm just going to let it go for a while. I also found it was really hard to manage doing both because I was putting more effort into Instagram. But anyway,
the content has to be different.
Yeah.
Like, because of that, you're almost doing two different types of content.
Yeah.
And if you want to make good content for one, you really need to you
got to focus. Oh yeah. Yeah. And at some point I'll go and experiment on TikTok again. And I think it's because it'll be a fun challenge at that point. You know, what is actually transferable from Instagram to TikTok and vice versa? Because the number of times I'll see somebody, and I divide everybody's followership on TikTok by 10 in my head. Like, okay, if you have 200,000 on TikTok, it's probably worth about 20,000 on Instagram, maybe. And that's just from my experience and sort of a hard and fast rule. But so some of the people I work with, they have all three, and like YouTube Shorts can do really well. And it can be the same piece of content across all of them, but it'll outperform there because it's like I'm almost trained to want to sit and watch a slightly bit longer on Shorts than what I would on something like TikTok, where I would just be like, nope. Oh, okay, this has like 500,000 views, not views, likes. I'll just sit and watch for a bit long. No. Instagram, I don't look at it a lot myself these days, except when I'm working with people, because I don't want to be a consumer of my own product, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like I don't want to become a consumer. I want to be a creator for it. And then getting trapped in seeing what everyone else is doing is a slippery slope to comparison, and then being like, oh, am I better or worse than this? And can I do this better? And you just lose the creative juice.
I think that's a really important thing to think about. Since I have deleted TikTok and like I have stepped away from socials a lot, it has freed up my mind a lot more from like comparing myself. And it also gets you away from trend chasing, where you're not chasing the trends anymore, because you're not seeing what other people are doing and going, oh, I want to do it. And if I do it, I can do well as well. Because then you're not thinking, once you're doing that, you're not thinking original anymore. You're thinking,
you're reactive.
You're reacting. Whereas like when you're thinking, okay, I want to create content. I've got this thing I want to talk to people about. How can I do this in an interesting, creative way to post on my channel? And then that's how you create the viral content, because it hasn't been done before. It's interesting. Like, so when you look at job apps for like content creators or like marketing coordinators and that kind of stuff, they're like, we want to look for people who can make viral content. You're like, and we want people to look up on search through TikTok and follow the trends. And I'm like, to make viral content, it's like, you don't really want that. And also, if you hit virality, are you actually going to get the same audience that you originally wanted?
Exactly.
Because that's the definition of viral content, is it's reaching content beyond your target audience.
The funny thing about viral content, I've seen a number of times, like smaller accounts, let's say you have 2,000 followers and you get a reel that pops off to 2 million or 10 million or 15 million or whatever. The actual translation to followers from that one reel is like very, very small. Right? Sometimes you'll see like, oh yeah, I gained 1,000 followers from it. It's like, cool. Now can you repeat that process?
Do it
and
again.
then if you do pop off, who was it that said it to me? They said, if I was to hit 100,000, maybe it was you. If I was to hit like 100,000 followers overnight, does my page actually have the content to support the 100,000 followers? Like, are they going to be able to enjoy what it is that I have to offer? Like, or if they just come for this one thing and now they're here and they're like, oh, this is not what he does at all. Well, okay.
Yeah. I feel like that might have been something I said. I don't know if I did. Maybe I worded
it. All gets lost in the wash sometimes, doesn't it? It's like, I speak to so many good people.
I do have a belief along that line. It's like, if you have a content that pops off and it does really well about a specific target and people follow you for it, and then they go and look at your other content, they're going to be disappointed because it's not the same content. And then if you keep making content like your old content, they're going to be like, oh, well, this isn't what I was expecting. They'll probably unfollow you. And so you're not really like hitting that same audience. I guess a really good example of a person who went viral and didn't have the support network behind it was that Hawk Tour girl.
Oh, yeah.
So she like went viral because of the Hawk Tour thing. And she just squeezed the juice out of that lemon so much. She didn't have the foundations to follow it through. Like, she tried a podcast and that just completely tanked. And she, like, I don't know, there's been a whole lot of other controversy, and I don't really care that much for it. But like, it's a good example of someone that rose to fame, tried to like hold on to that audience, but didn't earn it. Didn't actually, like, it wasn't even her content that went viral.
No,
she just kind of like seized the opportunity and just couldn't follow it up.
Yeah, and it's because ultimately I think it comes down to a lack of value to begin with, right? Like, it was a throwaway comment in front of a microphone at, was it a concert or something? I don't know.
I think outside of a nightclub or something.
Oh, yeah, well, even better. But the point is, she didn't have any value proposition to begin with. She tried to create and curate one afterward. But, people saw her for that and were like, yeah, I'm going to follow Hawk Tour. But now that I'm here, I'm like, well, I don't actually agree with anything she says potentially, or find anything that she has to offer me valuable. Yeah. So I'm kind of just going to go away now. But so when we talk about creating different content, right? And you find a niche and you do particularly well in I don't know, a certain game or a certain style or a certain something. And then if you try and create out of that and you feel like you get punished for trying different things, it's not so much that you're getting punished. You've got to be able to demonstrate your ability in that next space. Right? That's not going to happen with the first, reel or video or whatever.
Yep.
You've got to show people over time, and people don't exit in droves. But if you keep creating stuff that they find interesting, and maybe it's like, for me, it was like tight pants. People love the tight pants, right? And so if I wasn't wearing tight
Did they
pants,
like the tight pants, or did they like what was underneath the tight pants?
probably that second bit, right? But I was like, oh, I've just got to be the tight pants man all the time. I was like, no, you don't. Like that's not. While it does well with people, people haven't left because I've started doing cosplay content or started doing gym content. It's just that maybe they don't find as much value from that yet. But I can, as long as I keep demonstrating that, like, I'm here to give them stuff that they can consume and enjoy, like, I'll either find the audience to support it, or those same people will be like, all right, Byron makes some funny stuff in the gym, and Byron does some cool costumes, and that's really cool.
I saw your Spider-Man one.
Oh god,
that was hilarious.
Yeah. Sometimes I don't know what possesses me to do these things, and I'm kind of at the point where I'm like, well, you know what? I don't care.
So
it's fun.
Anyone who wants to know what I'm referring to, go check out Byron's Instagram.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Of him in a Spider-Man 3 costume. Hilarious.
Yep. It's it's pretty bad, but no. But again, like it's the like, because you take it seriously, and one of the things that would be a suggestion for people is you do have to treat it a bit like a business, right? Like, it requires time, energy, effort, consistent improvement, and then some brain power and thought going into what you're doing with a bit of strategy. But I mean, it's got to be fun too. So if there's no element of fun to it, no. So
it's something that it's great that we're talking about this, because it is something that I have been struggling with. Well, not struggling with, but just trying to like push through, I guess.
Yes. Yeah.
It's like, so, because I posted about this in the Discord that we now have live, and
go check it out, guys.
Yeah, well, I haven't actually shared the link anyway, but I'll put the link in the description below. It's still grassroots. I'm still nervous about it because it's not quite ready yet.
That's cool.
You heard it here first. And I posted about this on the Twitter page, basically about how my content's kind of fueled, like, grown from Baldur's Gate. And I can post Baldur's Gate stuff and it does okay. It does well.
Yeah.
And then if I try to do anything else, it's like, not good. But as you say, and it's something I'm realizing, is I have to prove my worth. I have to prove my value and earn that space and earn the ability to post other things.
Yeah.
And I think my theory, and I think you've just reinforced that, is that, okay, so I'm doing Baldur's Gate, and I'll keep doing Baldur's Gate, and I'm going to introduce something new.
Yes.
I'm going to have to go through this hard yards of that again, and then get that good. And once I've done it to another game, the next one will be easier.
Yeah, because you've been through it.
I've been through it, and then people will go, oh yeah, he can transition from games. And then if I do it again, it'll be easier again. So it's going to be hard. It's going to scare me away. But I think if I persevere, I think I can do it.
Yeah, and if you're approaching it with the right mindset of, I will continuously improve and learn from what happens on each subsequent post and video, then you're going to find that, like, you'll have those small wins, and those small wins over a longer time period turn into bigger wins. And then before you know it, you're like, oh, all right, I have traction and this is good. I'm feeling great again. Now I have to prepare for the next game. So you can go through that process a little bit smoother.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, I did have a question here written down. What was the secret sauce to growing on Instagram? But I actually feel like this entire podcast has been it's quite saucy. We're like an Angus beef burger from McDonald's, just
dripping down the chin.
Sauce. So we've got a lot of sauce in this. So we're getting towards the end of it. What's your top 5 tips for content creators who, let's specifically talk about Instagram, getting started on Instagram? Or it could be broad, because it's kind of the same thing, really. Yeah.
Right. Well, starting off, like, in no particular order, I'd say having a very clear understanding of what Instagram's objectives are. Right. And if you have that in the back of your mind, whenever you're creating content, it makes it a much smoother process where you don't feel like, oh, the algorithm hates me, because again, it does not.
Yeah.
The idea of creating content intentionally. So, like, I often ask my guys, what value did you want to deliver to me with this reel?
Yeah.
And I know straight away if they can't answer it, I'm like, well, how's the audience member supposed to understand what you want to deliver to them? So if you're at least starting from a point of like a concept that you're trying to deliver, you can actually work towards gauging whether or not you've done that.
Yep.
We talked about the start with like training that content creation muscle.
Yeah.
Right? You have to do some reps. Like you have to go to the content creation gym and bust out those dumbbells and start curling. Because if you
and I guess start light.
Yeah, start light, literally, like the simplest stuff. And it's funny, like some of my best performing reels ever have been the simplest things, right? And I'll shout out to one of the guys at Illustrious. So Zinni, he does these fantastic little stories. And he's like an electrical engineer and he puts together cool things. And then on his story one day, he posted a picture of a music box that he just made, and it was like doing cool Minecraft stuff. I was like, Zinni, go make that a reel. Right, it's really cool. Like it just exactly what you've done, turn it into a reel. And then the next time I spoke to one of them, they're like, "Oh yeah, that reel's performing really well." I was like, "Wow, what's happened?" It's like 500k views. I was like,
"Oh, that's really well."
Yeah,
really good.
It took him it literally took 10 seconds of him filming a candid moment about a piece of work that he was proud of, and then like it's not always that simple, but the point is it can be, right? So you put in the effort about trying to capture those things. And then training that muscle and doing those reps, and you'll find, what works.
And I guess once you've got the thoughts of it and your creative juices are flowing, those opportunities will start appearing in front of you a bit more.
Oh, it should. Yep.
You go, oh yeah, that's a reel right there. I can do that.
Yeah.
Like you'll be overflowing with reels eventually.
Yeah. Well, one of the boys I have, he's like, Byron, I have 100 things written down on my notepad. I'm like, dude, that's probably too many at this point, but it's great that you've got them.
That's a good problem to have.
It is a very good problem to have. Considering for him in particular, you go back 6 weeks ago and he was like, what do I make? Like, what do I do? I'm like, all right, let's start from scratch. But anyway, the next part, and I kind of touched on it, is actually understanding your value to the audience. And it's knowing your audience and what you're delivering to them, or what you're aiming to deliver to them. Because if you think people are going to consume content for you alone, then like you've got to check that ego, right? Because the strangers on the internet don't care who Byron Rose Kelly is, right? And I always say yet, because maybe at some point they start like, and I have a good group of people who are like comment on everything, no matter what I post. They're there for me now.
Well, I guess a good example would be like we spoke about Alex Hermosi before. Yeah, and I knew you knew who he was because we spoke about him in the past. But there's probably a lot of people who are listening to this and who don't know who that is.
Yeah.
Even though in the business world they're like one of the biggest.
Yeah. He is the king.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's king of sales.
Yeah. So like there's like you would probably see him and go, oh yeah, I know who that is. But like to your point, like people don't really care that much until they're really invested in the value offering.
Yep. Yeah. Now I would watch a piece of content from Alex, like just because he posted it, right? Yeah. I'm like, oh, maybe there's a diamond in the rough because I've got so much value from him already. Well, actually, it wouldn't even be a diamond in the rough. It'd probably just be like a platter and smorgasbord of amazing things that I can consume. But I digress. So talked about objectives, talked about creating content intentionally, the creation muscle, understanding your value, treating it like a business. I have a little extra one, I guess. It's if you had to focus on one metric at the start, it's looking at that view rate past 3 seconds. Right. So if you start with just one simple insight to monitor your performance, because if you can learn to capture people's attention, right, with a piece of content, then you are on the way to being able to deliver the value that you want. Because you cannot sell a secret, and if you can't get people to stop and watch, then it doesn't matter how good the rest of your creation is. It's just they're gone. So starting on that one first.
Yeah, it's good. I guess what they say is what you measure is what you grow. So if you're measuring the performance and I think there's a point in actively looking at that too and actively going, okay, this is the metric taking the like putting your ego aside and going, okay, what was it about this content that I did that did well and didn't do well, and how can I make it better? I guess asking
Exactly.
some other people would help too.
Oh, it does. So one of the things we do in my group is it's by request only. So the guys can chuck up their new piece of content and say, all right, I would love your constructive feedback and what did you think? And the great thing is that because there's some diversity in there in terms of content consumption, we get people who are like, I have no idea what just happened. Like, what's going on? And they're like, oh, oops, I guess I kind of missed the point here. Or they're like, I have no idea what happened, but that was really funny, or that was really entertaining, or, even though I didn't understand, let's say it's a game, even though I didn't understand the game, that moment that you just displayed, fantastic. I enjoyed it as a normie.
That's really good. It's a good thing to think about too, because like in marketing in general, and like I actually tackle this on my daily, is that if you're in the business and you're trying to sell your product, if you're not thinking about the consumer and you're just talking about your product, and I have to tell my manager this all the time. It's like, we know the product intimately. We love our product. People don't care about our product. We have to like sell it to them. We have to get their attention and make them understand it. Like we can't just like put the most complicated info. We have to really like dull it down, make it really like interesting. So if you can make your Minecraft video entertaining to someone who doesn't know what Minecraft is,
you're winning.
A winner.
Oh yeah, legitimately though. I know we've only got an hour or something to talk about this, but like that's another thing that I could talk about forever is broad scope appeal, and it's the way the algorithm pushes content out to people. Like if you are able to create a piece of content that is widely consumable past the original niche that you were creating it for, it's like that. The analogy that I came up with is like you're hosting a party. Right. And your original niche is your core guest list, and you're inviting all these people along, and you're putting on the party so that they can enjoy themselves. But then outside your core niche and that original guest list, you want to invite the rest of the neighborhood. Okay. Now they don't understand your niche at all, but if you make the party entertaining and interesting enough that they can come and have a good time too, well, your core niche still feels like, yay, like I got my party. But then the other people are joining like, oh, this is a pumping good time. I'm really glad I joined. Like, I'm really glad I came along. And when you apply that to a piece of content that you put out to the world, if your mum and dads or, your 60-year-old grandpas that are sitting there scrolling on their phone can go, oh, that was awesome. Well, you have a much higher likelihood of being able to reach a larger audience. But that's just for virality. So it's not necessarily
that's kind of like what I said before, is like viral content is content that reaches beyond your intended audience.
Yeah.
So you need to make your content entertaining for people outside of your intended audience.
Yeah. And that's if you're specifically focusing on trying to maximize views.
Yeah. I mean, again, it comes down to your target as your goals as a creator.
Yeah, exactly. Oh,
fantastic.
Yeah, gone forever.
All right,
but yeah, that's everything.
Byron, what's something that you want to improve on yourself?
At the moment, I want to improve on like having, it sounds a bit silly to say, but having more fun in my content creation again. Because for a long time, I was just purely creating for that. It was too much business. It was too much treating it like a business and not enough joy. And as a result, I kind of came to a point where I was like, do I actually enjoy this anymore? Yeah. It's like, that's not a great space to be in as a creator. So now it's about finding the fun and experimenting as much as possible to see if I can create content that still resonates with my audience, but is more, I don't know, more me, more fun. Yeah. So that's what I'm working on.
Awesome. That's great. Well, Byron, it's been fantastic having you on tonight.
Pleasure.
This has been a very good talk. More than just Instagram. So obviously this is all about Instagram, but I think this just applies with everything.
Oh yeah.
It's the same stuff everywhere. It's just a slightly different algorithm with a different colored logo.
Yeah, correct.
The same audience, more or less, too.
Yeah.
No, it's been great. It's been very, very insightful, and I hope everybody who's watching and listening to this has gotten something out of it. If you have, give the video a thumbs up. Go and check out Byron's content. I'll put everything in the links in the description below. Byron does do one-on-one coaching for Instagram as well, so you can check him out for that too. And if you have enjoyed this and you want to keep learning how to be a better creator, we're going to be doing this all the time. Subscribe to the channel, and there's a lot more to learn here. And as I mentioned before, there is a Discord where we're going to be talking about improving content. It's grassroots at the moment, so there's a lot. We're still
Come learn with us. Yeah.
come learn
Come
with
learn at the
us.
same time.
Yeah, that's where it's all at. Anyway, guys,
Yeah.
I hope you've enjoyed it, and we'll see you next time.